The most distinctive time I have felt like I perhaps wasn't pretty enough was actually, I remember a lot of paranoia around my wedding. Mm-hmm. And it sort of brought out all of the worst fears about body image. Mm-hmm. And Jen will recall, because she was there, I had picked out this gorgeous dress. I mean, absolutely beautiful dress. And then proceeded to get extremely paranoid that I would look really fat in it, in the midsection specifically. And I remember just obsessing about it, crying about it. I think, I never have had an eating disorder, but it was probably definitely a time in my life where I was eating a lot of tomatoes and lettuce and not a whole hell of a lot of anything else. And then just, in fact, shopping for other dresses. I was so uncomfortable with the idea that I would somehow look fat in it. And looking back in the pictures, it's sad that I felt that way. Listen, there are a few pictures where if you hone in on that, you can find a flaw in anything. But, the reality is, I think that we as women in particular have one or two body areas that we obsess about and focus on, and no one else notices at all. But what's so funny is that, when I look back at pictures from years ago, I can remember in certain pictures that I thought I was the hottest thing around. And I can look back now and I have more of a critical eye. And it's interesting, right? It's almost sometimes looking at pictures, it's just a reflection of how you feel in that moment about yourself. Objectively, you could look like shit, or you could look great. But it's all the judgments that you're projecting on yourself. So in middle school, it's interesting because I think that I've never fit the ideal of beauty wherever I've lived, right? So in middle school, I grew up in California, and it was very much a time where skateboarding and surfwear was really in, and I was wearing I was tall and gangly and had braces and these kind of terrible bangs I would curl every morning, right? And I just was proportionally odd and would wear sort of hokey things to school, overalls, printed Navajo overalls that I thought were so cool. And they were not cool, and I remember going through this metamorphosis where I made my mom take me to the local surf store, and I bought, I'll never forget, they were black suede Vans with black jeans, and I got all these t-shirts that said Quicksilver on them. We lived an hour from the beach. I could not, I was at horse ranches more in California than I was at the beach. But I remember I then felt prettier, and I got more attention. And then high school was funny because in high school it was the same sort of thing. So in high school we were living in Texas, and I was suddenly had gone from this surf skateboard culture to a culture of football and cheerleaders. And that just still isn't me. That wasn't me. I didn't know what to do with that. I didn't even understand the rules of that, right? And at that point, I had this cute bob, again with the bangs. The bangs were just a constant theme growing up. And I think that what happened was eventually I was Reality Bites came out, and it was 1997. 1996, 97, right? And Winona Ryder was the ideal of beauty. And Winona Ryder is 90 pounds and has a short pixie haircut. And, I'm 5'9", and I don't. They're these tiny little pixie women. Winona Ryder looked awesome. I don't even know what it means to be the prettiest girl in the circle, but I think everyone in their life has felt like they were not the prettiest person. And it's funny to me because I think life has a way of being like a great equalizer in that regard. Like the people in like the times of your life that you compare yourself to, it's not just about not feeling pretty enough, right? I think it's more than that. I think it's about not feeling good enough. And life has a funny way of years go by and your perspective of that changes a lot, right? I mean, you assume so much about other people and their situation, and you wish for their life or their looks or their talents or their money, and that all, it always has strings attached to it. I guess my advice to a friend that like comes to me and says like I don't feel pretty enough is to dig deeper and say what's really getting triggered here, what's really going on, and try to address that.